Time for another weekend wrap up over at Stats Edge Trading. This one might be a little bit of a long one because as I was going through the charts this morning, I noticed there was a lot. So grab your tea or coffee. Let's sit down. Let's go through it. As always, if you're new here, my name is Michael Nauss. I'm a chartered market technician and a quantitative trader. What I do on the channel every weekend is we sit down and we go through the weekly charts of all the major indices, crypto, forex, the whole nine yards. Try to get an idea of what happened this week. Try to help us plan for what we're going to do next week. And then I wrap it up with a couple ideas that I'm going to be watching. Now, as always, make sure you go over to statsedgetrading.com. Website got a little bit of a facelift, so if you've been there before, there's some new stuff there that you should definitely check out. Without further ado, let's go and get started. But it wouldn't be a weekend wrap up if we didn't get started here with Bitcoin. So, there's not too much to say with Bitcoin at this point, right? It's knocking at the doors at all-time highs. You can see up here. It's just tapping at that all-time highs over and over again. If we go into the daily chart and just take a little bit of a look at what's going on, it broke it and then got rejected. I think someone tracked this rejection right here, and it was a whole bunch of orders that some whale was putting out. Someone who held in a wallet since like 2021 was selling here, and then pushed back up again, and another little sell program hit. So battling this all-time highs, it makes sense that we would get some chop around here. If we go to the SPY, kind of like we were talking about back in this area, let me just draw this line. So back in this area on the SPY, you can see when it hit all-time highs again, it pulled back, it danced around for a few weeks before breaking. That could be what's going on here. But again, no reason for me to look at this and say, hey, it's time to short crypto by any means. If we go to Ethereum, TH, USD, lagging, but getting there. So for those who don't know, right, I was on with my friend Crypto Burb and we were talking about Ethereum right at this level right here, and I said that I liked it as it was holding the anchored view out from all-time highs. So I actually own not Bitcoin, but I own some Ethereum and I own some crypto stocks. So as I see these things approaching all-time highs, doesn't mean I'm going to sell them all, doesn't mean I'm going to move away and do something else, but it's the point that I think you need to start to feed the ducks, as they call it in trading, which just means, hey, I'm going to start taking some profit off the table to reduce my risk, to get ready that if there is a pullback or something and I still want to be a crypto person, I can buy more, right? You need to make sure that you're always managing those positions, right? I hate the saying that winners manage themselves because they absolutely do not. So then I wanted to spend some time talking about the yen. So note that in currency world, everything is denoted in yen. So if you want to see if the yen is strong or not, you would just flip this on its head, right? So, but I just wanted to talk about, if we look at a lot of these names, they have that are denoted in yen, they actually have this topping pattern and then this hard rejection candle. So this is US dollar yen. If we go to Aussie yen, and up near a prior resistance and then pulling back. If we go to, what was it, CAD yen, this one looks a little even worse, where we broke it a little bit and then we sold. All in all, it seems like there may be a yen reversal going on, at least to some degree. And one of the reasons for that, I'm actually going to bring this in here. This is just a chart of the participation when it comes to commercials and large traders and all that. I'll probably do a video on that later. But if we look at this red line right here, this is all of the traders who are considered large speculators that are taking positions in the yen. And you can see they're all short the yen. So all the big guys who are always generally long are shorting the yen. So as the yen is pulling back here, they're getting more and more short. So this pop off this lows might be a massive short covering rally. So I do have some of these yen positions short already, but that's just something I wanted to talk about. It could be an unwind that gives a little bit of strength to yen for a period of time. Sorry, when I'm looking down, I'm going over my notes to see what I want to talk about. Let's look at the Dixie. Now let's look at Euro GBP first. So we had a little bit of breakdown. You guys know that I was watching this Euro GBP. I was playing off this level a few times, but when it bounced and I saw it struggling at this anchored VWAP right here, I actually took a short position here. I'm still holding that to see if we can get through this level. You got to understand that Euro Yen is a very range bound currency because it's comparing two countries that are relatively close and they have same, trade and environment and all that kind of stuff. But as a trader, I actually like that kind of thing because I'm in and out using this weekly chart as a bit of a guide and taking scalps off the daily chart. Now, if we go to the Dixie, and the Dixie is the dollar index, you can see a little bit of a breakdown here. So this is generally good for stocks, as when the dollar was ripping like this was when the bear market happened. And when this came down, this is when stocks started to recover. So now that the dollar is chopping sideways, this is good for stocks as well. But if we get a rollover, you would think that would be really good for stocks. And I've been watching this, if you've been watching the channel for some time, trying to see, are we going to get this bounce here and then have a rollover in the dollar? So the real question will be now, do we have the strength to break these lows? So that kind of curbs how I'm going to trade a lot of these dollar denoted currencies, right? So you can see we talked about this last week where we have the pound, and the pound is coming up against these two anchored VWAPs, and it was chopping really, really nicely here in a range while the euro was actually outperforming it a little bit, but we did have a breakout here in the pound. So the pound's very interesting to me. If the dollar's going to roll over, the pound holds this breakout. That is a long position that I want to watch for some trades going into next week. We go to US CAD, and it's kind of the opposite here, right? It's denoted in US dollars, but we have a nice pullback here in the CAD. We have a bounce to an anchored VWAP. That's really important. Then it looks like it might be rolling over here as well after many, many weeks up in a row. So if the CAD rolls over, that's going to be a trade that I'm going to take as well. So those are some positions that I'm going to be working next week if I can find them in some of my crypto prop firms. So USD CAD, or no, we already just did that. XAU USD. Not much to say about gold. I just wanted to go over it because, I'm long gold. I love this breakout. I love that I'm in this breakout in a couple different ways, but there's not much technical analysis to do other than a little bit overextended here on the daily chart. You can see all of these candles up in a row. This, to me, is starting to look a little bit overextended here. So just be kind of cognizant of that. If we go into silver, which is generally a high beta gold. So if gold's going up, it's going up more, and if if gold's going down, silver's going down more. We're not seeing that right now. So that's kind of interesting that silver is dramatically underperforming gold. So this might be a flight to safety type move, which could tell us some things that we're going to talk about here when it comes to stocks. Now, without further ado then, I think that's it for currencies. Let's pop into the stock market. We're going to start here with the SPY, and I really want to focus on this week's candle right here. And the reason I want to focus on this week's candle is because it's a doji. So a doji represents indecision, and often you will see these dojis at tops and bottoms of moves. It's the market runs up and it gets to a level, then you have this indecision week. When an indecision week happens, for me, I'm just a little bit more cautious. I sold some positions and I put on some hedge because the next week, in my opinion, is going to be a very important week for the S&P 500 and for the market as a whole. And the reason is that after indecision generally comes decision. You have dojis that if they resolve, I wonder if I can find anything impromptu here on the chart, but these dojis, generally speaking, when they resolve, they'll resolve, there's two right here, and that caused a change in trend. That's two spinning tops, so that's close. That caused a little change in trend. That's a little one here, that caused a change in trend. So you can see these often at tops and bottoms of move. I'm not saying that the market's going to top. I'm just saying I need to see what's going to happen next in the market to decide whether or not we're at a short-term top. And to do that, I need to make sure that I am kind of positioned for it and I can unbiasedly take a look. Now, I'm one that's kind of rooting for a bit of a pullback just because markets that get too parabolic one way generally get too parabolic the other way. I would like to see more of this stuff going on, but I have no control over that. Just something that I'm noticing. We go down the cap scale, so we go to the MDY. Topping tail is a little bit more pronounced, and it's a little bit worrisome that it happened just as we broke out of this level to all-time highs. So if we pull back here to this prior all-time high breakout, I hope that we just chop around for a period of time and then push higher. That would be an ideal scenario here for these rests to occur. And then IWM, it's the same thing. We have this level right here, and then we have another doji as well. And the reason for that is SMH, which is our semiconductor sector, put in this massive, and the really bad candlestick pattern, if it is one, would be called a shooting star. And that's essentially just pop up and then just complete and utter come back to earth. Some people refer to this as the middle finger of God, which is kind of hilarious. But to have it be that, we need to see continuations in the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, it's just a candle. You got to understand that most candlestick patterns have a couple candles that have to go by, right? This wasn't really a hammer until you had the change in direction in the following week. So, again, not calling for anything. I'm just starting to position myself in a way that if this occurs, and all of this happened because of this NVIDIA, people are calling it a blow off top, and it certainly could be. If we go into the daily chart right here, you could see a big gap up and then a big crash down. That's a massive bearish engulfing candle, which could lead to some further downside. And if it does, that's fine, right? It went from 200 to 800. So what if it pulls back to 600, right? It's still up 3x from this time. This breakout right here was 500. So 500 to 1,000 nearly. So it doubled right from the breakout. So if it pulls back to 600 or so, it's still strong. So when you hear the bears out there ringing the bell that they were right, just be careful, right? It's still insanely strong. Two other indexes I want to go over, KRE. So KRE is doing very well as off the anchored VWAP from this major swing that occurred right here. And this major swing that we pulled back in, people know that this is my favorite way to grab reversals if I'm going to grab reversals. You look for a big bounce off a major level, and then it comes back, and if it holds that anchored VWAP, then you have a nice, clean area for a turn. So I'm in some KRE still. I've been playing around this $40 level for a long time. Anyone who's a follower to the channel will know when this whole nonsense occurred right here. I was buying at 40 as it broke through and buying at 40 as it broke back and just trading around a position, but I added to that position here as well. And then if we take a look at TLT, this is our bond ETF. It's giving the exact same pattern. So I bought some TLT, or I have some orders to buy TLT out on Monday, barring any crazy gap one way or the other, because it seems to be doing that same pattern. So I need to take advantage of that. That means that rates would generally be moving lower. That should be good for the stock market right now as well, but maybe they're starting to decouple again from rates. For newer traders, it used to be that bonds went up and stocks went down. It just, that broke when this massive increase in rate pushed both bonds and stocks down. So I wonder if that we may be returning back to normalcy when it comes to that. But I have that. That's going to be a little bit of a hedge as well. I have some, and then I have an order out for kind of a full position there. So a couple names that I'm watching. And again, obviously, if we are going to have this pull back in the market, I'm not going to be getting involved in these things right off the bat. But I wanted to just point them out to you in case the market does reverse. These are a couple names I'm going to be watching. These are all anchored VWAP kind of pullbacks. So this Haiko, just going to draw an anchored VWAP from around this low. You can see it's popped up. It's come back down to that anchored VWAP, and that's also this area right here that it broke out of. So I'm going to take a look at that one. The what else do we have here? Win. So Win Resorts. Same type of move. We have a pullback. I can't remember where the anchored VWAP is. Probably right here. This major swing low. Yeah. Pulling back after an earnings gap into the anchored VWAP right here and also filling the gap. So if this wants to recover, I'm going to take a look at this one as well. And then last but not least, we have LFST. And LFST has a same kind of a pattern where we are constantly having these Anchored VWAP pullbacks. Oh, this one's from the major low right here. Yeah, so big pop up on earnings and then pull back down to close the gap and hit this anchored VWAP. So just trying to snipe some of these pullbacks. Again, having a list of things that if the market's going to pull back, if these things hold strong, then I think they're going to work. So I also wanted to bring in this. This was a tweet that I put out. Again, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm just Michael Nauss, CMT everywhere. Twitter, Substack, all of that stuff. This is not ideal. So in the CMT even, they teach us that as soon as you get insanely bullish or insanely bearish cover stories to these major headlines, The Economist, Barron's, all of these things, generally speaking, marks around a short-term top. So keep an eye out if this comes to fruition, like it often does. That could be more, hey, we got to rest or we got to pull back a bit. It is hilarious how often it works. I can do a video all about that if you guys are interested. And if you are, comment that kind of stuff below. I'm always open for new video ideas. And thank you guys very much for joining me for this extra long stream on the weekend. So finish up your analysis and then get away from the screens.